Live, up and down the coast, from the beaches to the valleys. At 11, this is KEYT News Channel 3, where the news comes first.
Firefighters mopping up hot spots and chopping down brush. The Loma fire damaging 2 homes and a very close call for many others, including our TV station. Thanks for joining us here on News Channel 3 Midday. I'm Joe Butita. Now, this fire is literally right outside of our studios. They have gotten a much better control of it in the last few hours, but late last night, the danger was real, being pushed by strong winds that were racing up the hill. Our station had to be evacuated. John PALMINTERI, our senior reporter, is joining us live now with the very latest on what we know about the Loma fire and an update from firefighters. Hi, John.
Firefighters have been on the scene all night and have been trying to stop any flare-ups, and they're using chainsaws and other tools to frame this box where the fire burned. But fortunately, we can tell you that no homes were lost. Just a couple of homes had some damage. This is one home at 121 Via del Cielo. If you know Miramonte Drive and where the TV station is, as you look at it in the city, this would be to the left. And that's where the fire was bending and aggressively going that way last night. And it moved very quickly. Within 10 or 15 minutes, the whole hill was on fire. Let's take a quick look at the scene here where this house is, and you can see how the fire came dangerously close to the structure and other structures around here, and even whipped around behind it with embers. There's palm trees behind it that are burning. And then down below, as we dip down, this is the canyon where the 10 acres burned. Joining us now and coming into our shot is Jim McCoy, the veteran battalion chief, who tells me he's been on for 72 hours. But we were on a fire on the west side about 7:30, and with a short period of time, this broke out. What were the conditions like when this fire broke out?
Well, it's May, and it's a little strange for middle of May, but you know, when we don't get rain in the winter, and we get the winds like we do in the spring and the fall, it turns into fire issues for us.
And you also didn't have great access here either.
This is a steep hill. You know, the access for this, the guys and gals that were here worked really hard, but in the dark, uneven footing, and with fire conditions as they were, it was a tough one.
We're going to pan over and just show people about the steep climb. So you have a fire down there by the fence line or where the rigs are, starting somewhere in that area. The cause still not known, under investigation. What happens to a fire like that, and how do you call it out to get the resources where you need to?
Well, you know, this one is topography driven and wind driven. You know, the fuel was, you know, fairly heavy, but this hillside's burned in the past. Once this fire ran up to kind of the ridge line, it got in alignment with the wind, and the wind just pushed it right along. This was a northeast wind, a little bit different than what we normally get, but it got in alignment and it just was off to the races.
And we had a mixture of shrubs and some clearing in here. The goats have been here over the years, and we like that. It took some of the thickness out of it. But as we look at the scape here, what does it tell you about the burn pattern?
It was hot. It burned through here, and you know, mostly complete. And you know, now as we transition to putting the fire out, finding all the hot spots, we'll have to think about mud next winter if we get rain, and some of the rollout. We have already had a little bit of rollout down on Loma Alta.
We're looking now, we turned around towards the City College side. I know some palm trees around the back are burned like toothpicks. What was the wraparound effect and the ember wash that could have done a tremendous damage to these 50 homes or so below us?
Yeah, the ember wash was a big deal last night. It was throwing embers out in front of the fire, which got stuff out, you know, preheated, and then those embers get the fuel in front going, and so it takes off, and it's a big fire in a hurry.
And you called for what in the way of resources from within your department, and realizing it would not be enough. How did you call this out, like right away, say we need more than the city can handle?
Well, you know, very quickly, the early crews and myself realized that we had structure defense problems up on the top of the hill. We do train on this hill. It's one that has burned in the past, and certainly as a city fire, you know, within city limits, this is one that we train with and understand. That being said, fire was moving very quickly. It was on both sides of the road of Loma Alta there, and really getting in front of it and getting those engines into structures and doing structure defense is really important.
And for today, give me the game plan for today. How are we calling it out? I see a lot of firefighters and hose lines around it. I know it's 10 acres, but the same fundamentals apply.
Yeah, well, we're looking for hot spots. A lot of the oak trees that have burned down still are holding a lot of heat. We've got 3 crews here, 2 excellent crews from Santa Barbara County that they're helping us out with, and a really nice crew from Ventura. And so we got the crews working chainsaws, and then behind that, the engine companies are plumbing those lines with water and hoses, and we just get in and dig and find the hot spots and put those out. We certainly won't leave this area until we're sure that it's done and cold.
Will you fly this and take an infrared picture, or do it another way?
Well, that we probably won't, but we'll have eyes on it for a long time. Yeah. And as long as we have the wind, it'll be a concern.
All right, Jim McCoy, Battalion Chief, Santa Barbara City Fire. What a great and complete assessment. We thank you very much. You covered all the points. And of course, the big question is, how did this fire start? And that's going to take some time and a great deal of investigation. Some residents have returned here. Some have been concerned about if there's more potential for fire. But right now, it looks like things have calmed down, although it is breezy here on TV Hill. Reporting live on the scene, I'm John PALMINTERI, News Channel 3.
All right, John, thank you. And we are just getting information from Santa Barbara Police that an arrest has been made in the starting of this fire. It's an arson arrest, and they have identified the suspect as a 23-year-old Victor Hernandez. The suspect in other recent arson fires as well, including this fire that broke out last night, the Loma fire. He was arrested on the scene for being under the influence of a controlled substance and taken to the Santa Barbara Police Department while the fire investigation continues. But police in Santa Barbara have made an arson arrest in the starting of the Loma fire from last night. All right, and speaking of last night, this fire started. It was pushed by strong winds, which had it racing uphill. Our station was evacuated, but some of our incredible co-workers started shooting video and reporting on this as we became the news. Here's a look back at last night.
Whoa. These flames are they're getting closer.
Kelsey's probably been talking about the winds were really a factor early on. There's 2 things that really drove this fire. One, it burned on a steep slope. That pushed the fire up faster. Fire burns a lot faster uphill, and it was being pushed laterally by those gusty winds.
This is incredibly scary. The wind is so high right now. This fire is coming up the hill. There's our satellites.
Well, the firefighters are fantastic.
Firefighters, as well as Jose, who's been out here all night, have done an incredible job of fighting this fire, because at times we were seeing those flames get at least 10 feet high, roaring up this hillside.
Well, I haven't seen it in the light, but it is quite a bit of difference. To see it, especially orange instead of green, was quite not. I've always considered that a fire could happen and been semi-prepared for it, but then when it happened, you forget to get all the stuff that you're supposed to have. So be prepared.
Yeah, some good advice there from our neighbor up here on the hill whose home was damaged. So what does the fire burn scar look like from afar? This photo pretty much says it all. Dramatic image from our John PALMINTERI showing where this burned up the hill and how much brush is still remaining on TV Hill to the right, although much thinner thanks to the goats and other abatement operations that have been over the years. But you can see the fire scar, how dangerous it was, how quickly it moved. And you mentioned, Jim McCoy had mentioned how hot this fire was burning. If you look out the ledge, there is nothing left. No trees, no roots, no nothing. So an incredibly hot fire. And that shot right there, certainly going to be a good view for all of Santa Barbara with TV Hill in the background there. That is the burn scar from the Loma fire. All right, so the winds, we were anticipating them to pick up into this afternoon. So far, at least thankfully, we haven't seen them too bad. Ryan Fish is in the First Alert Weather Center for Anik Abbott today, tracking things. And man, this morning, you and I were looking at each other like, uh-oh, this thing could get going again with the wind.
It was a little threatening, the flare-up that we had right outside our door here at about 5:30 or 6 in the morning. The winds did pick up. Keith Carls was live, and he noticed it as well. And since that time, The winds have really backed off, but perhaps they're starting to tick up just ever so slightly again. And here's just a look, a sampling here of lower Montecito, the foothills as well, and here at TV Hill. All of them relatively harmless right now in terms of constant wind speed at only 7 miles an hour here at the studio, but these are going upwards a little bit from what we saw earlier today. And John commented it felt a little breezier out there. So this is a constantly changing measurement here, and it varies moment by moment what these sensors pick up. Here's a live look outside of the progress firefighters are making, and here this sensor 7 miles an hour, decent humidity in the air, so we're not looking at overly dry air for future fires to spread, but as we all know, the brush is tinder dry out there, and that is a big concern. And we've had a cool start to the day for our area, and we'll get to that in a little bit as well. Right now, just taking a look, we are starting to see that wind pick up, double-digit wind speeds in the Santa Ynez Valley, as well as Goleta, Santa Maria, and Lompoc right now. And watch as we push forward to this afternoon, looking at 20 miles an hour or so from the Ventura County coast all the way up to Morro Bay, looking at stable wind speeds around 20 miles an hour. That's not the gusts numbers. Those are even higher. So we are looking at a windy day ahead for us. We have wind advisories to get to, and we'll be watching it closely, because if another fire were to start, or if these hot spots were to pick up again, those embers could go flying, and we could have another hairy situation very quickly. So we'll be watching it closely. Your full forecast, we'll have that coming up in just a bit.
Ryan, yes, we're going to take another live look outside. This is TV Hill, and you can see what these firefighters are working with, how steep it is in the battle of the Loma fire. They've done great work today, and we're going to have more on the forecast coming up, plus the latest on the coronavirus pandemic. Midday will be right back.